Good evening and welcome to tonight's community meetings on behalf of Dallas ISD and Dallas ISD Construction Services. We want to welcome you to tonight's community meeting on up to date changes and renovations at both the T.W. Browne Middle School and Justin F. Kimball High School campuses. These renovations and changes and updates are made possible from funding from the Bond 2020 programs. We want to thank everyone who voted on behalf of that bond. We're certainly thinking big and building big in Dallas ISD with bold, innovative, and generational changes to our campus. Our goal is to ensure that we are meeting the needs of our children now and well into the future. I'm going to pause now so that our interpreters, this meeting is being broadcast live on Facebook, and we do have interpreters available for those who need Spanish to hear the meeting in Spanish. I'm going to pause now for one of our interpreters to come in and give instructions on that. Okay, just as when you first joined the meeting, you had the option of selecting a language. You will be hearing the meeting in the language that you did select. As again, I stated, we are broadcasting live on Facebook and we are monitoring that as posts as well. So you'll have the opportunity to ask questions, give comments, shares, likes, etc., both within the meeting and of course on our social media channel as well. We do ask that you hold all questions until after the presentation. You will be able to place them in the chat room, and time permitting, some will even be able to offer you and ask directly. So with no further ado, I'm going to introduce the wonderful principal for T.W. Browne Middle School. Principal, you will take it over.
Yes, I definitely want to say good evening, everyone. I am Darwin Hughes. I'm the very proud principal of T.W. Browne Middle School. And parents, I do want to appreciate you and I do want to thank you for being with us on tonight. I am so elated about this. I also want to acknowledge our trustee, Dr. Foreman, in addition to our region superintendent, Dr. Shelton, and lastly, to our executive director, Dr. Kelly, and most importantly to you, our staff and our parents. Thank you so much for being here. As I stated previously, we are elated about this opportunity and most importantly, the great things that are happening in the Dallas Independent School District, in particular, T.W. Browne Middle School, where we are the best around. So again, parents and community partners, I do want to thank you and I do want to appreciate you for your time on this evening. Thank you.
Okay, now in case everyone missed that, Principal Hughes said that T.W. Browne is the best around. So we want to make sure that what we're doing is helping to fulfill that mission on behalf of our families and students to come. It is our pleasure and honor to have probably one of the hardest working trustees in Dallas ISD, if not in the state, and certainly maybe even the state of Texas, if not the United States, on our call, joining us tonight. Trustee Joyce Foreman, if you would.
So I'll just briefly say thank you to the principals at T.W. Browne and at Kimball High School. We are really working hard to bring forward some changes in terms of the facilities at both schools. We knew that the 2015 bond wasn't sufficient. And so with a lot of lobbying on my part, we are able to do some additional work on these schools, and we're excited.
Fantastic. We have, again, a lot of the school leadership here. And the principal, I think, from Kimball to facilitate, since we're having meetings back to back, if we would allow the principal from Kimball to also bring greetings at this time.
Well, I was getting jealous, a little bit jealous. I thought I was being left out, so I appreciate the opportunity to speak right quick.
Principal Smith, I would never leave you out, Principal Smith. You know that.
So to all the Kimball Knights and the Trojans, we're deeply delighted to have you here with us tonight for such wonderful occasion as this. It's always good to get something brand new. So I know we're excited about getting some brand new things for the opportunity to create better opportunities for our students and staff alike and the community. So again, I thank you for being on here and greetings to everyone on this meeting. Thank you.
Miss Kelly, I know we have a couple of members of school leadership for this wonderful feeder pattern, and I believe Trustee Foreman will echo this. This is one of her feeder patterns are all rated. None of them are failing campuses. I know that's something that Trustee Foreman is very proud of. So you've heard from local campus leadership. What about hearing from the people who are actually helping to shepherd this? Ms. Kelly, if you would like to say anything at this time?
Well, thank you so much, Ms. Bell, for this great opportunity to just share to our phenomenal esteemed trustee foreman, our dedicated parents and valued stakeholders. We are just truly honored to serve in the Kimball Vertical team, where we have some of the most inspiring and resilient leaders. Dr. Hughes and Principal Smith are phenomenal, have done amazing jobs in stewarding this great work and service to our dear students. And we are just excited about these facilities. We want to thank everyone, Trustee Foreman for her advocacy, everyone for their planning, renovation, and construction planning. And we truly honor your feedback, and we're excited to serve and to serve well, because our students deserve the very best facilities. And thank you so much for this great opportunity. Thank you, Ms. Bell.
Thank you. Am I leaving anyone out? Because I know we've had some vertical alignment changes in this feeder as well. Okay, great. This for tonight, as we share, we're talking about our Bond 2020 changes and renovations. Our goal in this bond, of course, is to change the landscape of urban education, to be able to facilitate and make sure that the children are meeting their needs and goals, and we're actually meeting the needs and wants and desires of our future learners. This is actually the largest bond program in the history of the state of Texas. So we're certainly thinking and building big in Dallas ISD. Leading this effort is none other than our Chief of Construction Services, Brent Alfred. Mr. Alfred, if you wouldn't mind, he will take over the further of this meeting, and I will be back. Again, there will be an ample opportunity to ask questions and make comments. Please do so in the chat room. And after the presentation, hold any question you may have, either put them in the chat or hold them until the end of the presentation. And I'll come back and we'll facilitate that. If you're joining us on Facebook, please feel free to share your comments there and we'll get those answered as well. Mr. Alfred, it's on you.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Bell. And thank you, Kimball and Browne community, for allowing us to come speak to you tonight. As Ms. Bell stated, this is the biggest bond in the history of the state of Texas, and we're transforming the landscape of Dallas ISD. And this would not be possible without the support from the bond, from you guys getting out there and voting, and the support of your trustee. You have a very strong trustee that really advocates for your schools. And today marks a journey that we're going to be on for the next 12 to 18 months. I've gathered a very strong team for you guys. I have KAI as your architect. We have McKissick and McKissick as your program manager that are going to kind of lead the charge. So I'm the only thing standing in the way between you and this presentation. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to pitch it over to Derwin with KI. He's going to lead you through the presentation, and then we'll have a Q&A at the end. So thank you, guys.
Thank you, Brent, for that introduction. And of course, community engagement and stakeholder engagement is something that's very important to us at KAI. And hearing your voice and understanding what the needs are and really getting some responses to what's in the package is really important to the overall process. So with that being said, let's go ahead. I would like to introduce our team. So Brendan, let's move to the next slide. Also joining us this evening is our president, Darren L. James. He's on the call as well. And Darren, you want to introduce yourself very briefly?
Good evening, everyone. I'm Darren James. I'm really excited to be here tonight. How you doing, Ms. Foreman? Good to see you again. Brent, always good to see you. And principals, we're really excited to be part of this process. And I'm going to get out the way just like Mr. Alfred did so that you guys can get to the presentation.
Awesome. Appreciate it, Darren. And James Lawrence will be serving as our senior project manager. James?
Hello, everyone. I'm really excited to be here tonight as well. My name is, as Derwin says, James Lawrence. I am the senior project manager for both Kimball and Browne, and really anxious to get started and see all the things we can do to bring these schools some new and fun things for the community and students and staff.
Thanks, James. Next up is our project architect, Brandon Heron.
Hello, my name is Brandon Heron, project architect with KAI. Just to reiterate what my team members have said, I'm excited to be a part of the process. Also, I'm a product of DISD myself, so this is really exciting to be able to work on these projects. Thank you.
Appreciate it, Brandon. And last is Mariah Sims. Mariah?
Well, they definitely took everything that needs to be said. So, but I'm just as excited to be a part of this. And thanks for having me.
Appreciate it, Maria. So let's go ahead and let's jump into the scope and actually what was sold in the bond package. Let's talk about the base scope. So slated at T.W. Browne Middle School, we're looking at providing a brand new security vestibule to the building, which will provide secure access into the building for visitors. We're going to replace the marquee sign at front of the building. Throughout the building, we're looking at new room and site graphics. Replacement of the educational casers. So what that really means is the teacher cabinets in the classrooms are going to be replaced with new millwork or new furnishings to provide the storage that the teachers need. We're looking to replace the acoustical ceiling tiles throughout the school. The carpet and VCT in the classrooms and throughout the academic and corridor spaces are going to be replaced. The teaching surfaces in the classroom, that consists of primarily the marker boards and chalkboards. If we still have chalkboards in schools, we definitely need to change those to marker boards and get those updated to the latest requirements to provide the best teaching environment. And exterior and interior painting. Let's move to the next slide, Brandon. Corridor walls. We have some updates that we need to do to the corridor walls throughout Browne. New front entry canopy. We want a safe place for students to gather and during inclement weather days when they're waiting for their parents outside. Addressing the waterproofing on the exterior of the building. And that may seem like a minuscule thing, but it's a very important thing to make sure you have a watertight building. We do have some minor exterior wall repair that may not be very prevalent to you, but we're going to be addressing. And then the windows throughout the building, we're looking to replace with new energy efficient windows that are insulated and keep the school nice and comfortable both in the winter and the summer. We do have some minor improvements to the pavement and sidewalks around the school that we need to address. To make sure you have great internet throughout the school, we want to address the air conditioning within the IDF and MDF rooms. That's basically the rooms that has all the equipment that houses all the Wi-Fi you have in the building. We want to make sure those stay functional. The gym and the locker rooms, we want to address the HVAC in those areas as well. And along with the HVAC, all the grills and diffusers where the air is distributed throughout the building, we want to address those. And then the HVAC, of course, we want to make sure it's heated and cool, that students are comfortable and the staff. The fire alarm system will be addressed. We'll have new exterior at the interiors and also new lighting controls so that the district can control those lights and turn them off and turn them on when they need to be. The exterior light fixtures, we will replace those with LED. In addition to the interior light fixtures, we'll replace with new LED fixtures. And then we'll be doing some plumbing improvements. And that's pretty open-ended, but what we'll say is the things that need to be done in order to make sure that you have sufficient water and sewer service or septic service throughout the building, we're going to address those in this particular bond. And of course, there are some technology upgrades, which includes cameras, card readers, and the necessary infrastructure to address the safety and security concerns there as well. So the way that we have categorized this is that we've looked at basically the scope in three categories: light, medium, and heavy. The light being represented in yellow, the medium being represented in orange, and the heavy being in red. So when we start talking about light renovation, that's where we really start talking about the flooring replacing of the teaching services and painting. So this is the first floor plan of your building, your facility. So we're pretty much touching 90% of the building as far as new finishes, and that's what we consider light renovation. We don't have very much in regard to medium on this particular floor plan, but when we start talking about heavy, we're really looking at reconfiguring spaces. So the red area primarily represents the administrative suite and the safety vestibule that we're going to be adding. So in order to facilitate the new safety vestibule, we're going to reconfigure some of the spaces adjacent to that to provide that secure vestibule, and reconfiguring the front office to provide the proper flow from the exterior to the interior of the building. So that renovation was going to be a little bit more extensive than the rest of the building. So let's move to the second floor and third floor. So the second and third floors of the building primarily consist of light renovations of finishes, of flooring, teaching services, and painting. Let's move forward, Brendan. So as we visit the site with the trustee, with the stakeholders, with the district, some additional items that we identified that needed to be done at T.W. Browne consisted of upgrading the security vestibules and adding security films at the glazing to defer or slow down a threat that may encounter the building. So that's an additional item that we're looking at adding as to the project. It hasn't been added yet, but we're exploring that as part of this bond. We're looking at updating the finishes at functional life skills. Those areas really need some improvements there. So providing a better area for that core group of students in our schools. We always love to try to remove the portable buildings where possible and feasible, to remove those from the campuses, especially when they're not being utilized. So we want to remove those and basically replant those areas with new grass and reestablish those. And then one big deficiency that we saw throughout the building is that the public address system or the PA system is not functioning properly throughout the building. So we want to make sure we include that as well. TW Browne is pretty straightforward, but this is the way we're going to approach the project. So when we approach design, we basically have 3 phases of work from a design standpoint. So we start off in what we call schematic design. So we're currently in the schematic design phase, which is kind of big picture. We're trying to imagine the dreams as far as everything that needs to be done. So we basically take those vision, those dreams, and we put them on paper. This is how we're going to approach them. We then move into the design development phase, and then we try to figure out really how do we make these things happen? How do the systems work? How do we make the pieces come together? Once we figure that out, we move into construction documents, which are basically the documents that we turn over to the contractor that's going to bid the project. So this schedule only represents the design phase. We had the additional phases below that, which includes bidding and negotiation and CA. Those schedules have not been established yet, but what we're looking to do is basically start our design work now. Today in I'm not sure what it says, 2029, 23, but it's June 29th of 2023, and we're looking to extend that through the first quarter of 2024 for our design work. And with that being said, I think that consists of our presentation for Browne. And Ms. Bell, I think we're going to turn it back over to you to see if we have any feedback from our stakeholders here this evening.
Fantastic. And again, if you joined us late, this is the community meeting regarding, excuse me, the community meeting for renovations and additions to the TW Browne community meeting. We'll be following this one with the meeting on Justin F. Kimball as well. We do have a couple of questions coming through. I do want to ask everyone to take the opportunity. In our chat, there is a link for our sign-in sheet for this meeting. Please take an opportunity to sign in. And with that being said, let me go to the chat. If you're joining us on Facebook, remember that you can ask your questions on Facebook, and we'll get those comments shared live as well.
Hey.
We do have a couple of questions. Yes, does someone have their hand raised? Okay.
Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry.
Yes, Trustee Foreman, yes.
So this question is for Chief Alford. I really like the presentation. We're doing a lot of wonderful things at TW Browne. I'm asking us to look into getting new furniture through this process. If we're going to do all these wonderful things, we need new furniture.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And we have some budget outside of the architect's contract to look at that furniture. So I'm noting that, and I will work toward that goal. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Oh, okay, we do have a question. Lakeisha Thomas, you put a couple in the chat, but go ahead if you want to go off mute and you can ask your questions directly.
Good evening, everyone. I have a couple of questions. The first one was, will the technology upgrades include Promethean boards in every class with screen share capabilities? Because we want our students to be able to access the latest technology.
Mm-hmm. Well,
James,
Ms. Thomas, the technology comes from a separate budget from outside of architect. I know they do have budget for school equipment. I'm just not up to breast on every item in there and the capabilities of it. So what I can do, I can follow up with you and get with the chief technology officer and give you the specs on it and what they're providing.
Thank you. And the other question was about the auditorium. Will there be any upgrades to the auditorium?
Darwin, you want to take that?
Yeah, we have assessed the auditorium. We agree that there are some upgrades that definitely need to be done to the auditorium. It's not currently in this bond, but we can definitely note that in our list, but we did notice the deficiencies in the auditorium.
Okay, so
Okay,
we need voters to vote for another bond so that can occur?
Not necessarily. Sorry,
Okay.
my screen froze. I say not necessarily. We had an assessment done in 2018. They identified, priority ones and twos, and that's what they presented on today with some other findings. Just the auditorium didn't make that list, but at the end of the bond, we're gonna come back and look at scopes like that to see if we could do like a horizontal procurement and maybe do some upgrades and enhancement. When we get to Kimball, you will see we do have an auditorium included in that one. It did not get included in the Browne initial assessment.
Get included.
Okay, thank you, Chief Alfred.
Okay, one moment, please. We have someone without. If you want to ask the questions, please use the feature at the top that says raise hand or put your or type in your question in the chat space. Principal Hughes, you've been patiently waiting.
Thank you so much. And I also want to appreciate and thank you all for the presentation as well. Mr. Browne, with the initial scope that you guys gave me, and maybe I missed it here, it was at least suggested that we provided a new marquee sign out front. So is that still on? I mean, is that still within the scope, or has there been some additional changes, or did I miss it on tonight?
James, would you mind addressing that particular question?
Yes. With the extent of the cost construction limit, there was some items that we were requested to look at that might be moved out of that scope. And that was one of the items that we were asked to remove from the scope. Now, that certainly can be reconsidered if that is deemed a higher priority than some of the other items.
Hey,
Okay.
James, this is Brandon. I think we were able to maybe squeeze that in. I don't want to speak out of turn,
sure.
but
Sure.
but just
Oh, yeah. Thank you,
reconfiguring the
Brandon.
numbers. Yeah, we were able to squeeze
Got
some
it.
dollars in there.
Awesome.
for that
Thank you both.
clarification.
Thank you.
Well, what I can say is that
Fantastic.
we're working with a very tight budget, so there are some items that we will be looking at as add alternates as well to the project. So just to make sure we come in within the established construction cost limitation that's been done, we may have to pull some of those out as add alternates, but we'll definitely look at the marquee sign. Sorry, Ms. Bell.
Fantastic. No, Trustee Foreman, you have your hand raised.
Just quickly wanted to say, although some of this might be outside of budget, we have creative ways to do additional work for our schools. And so I will be getting with Chief Alfred to try to see what we can do. And Chief Alfred, what I'd like to see is maybe you, myself, and the principal get together.
Yes, ma'am. We'll pull that together. And like I say, tonight, we want to listen to you guys and hear these concerns, and then we're going to gather, as Trustee Foreman said, and come up with a plan, because we're looking for a win-win scenario.
But we have a question from Danita Lacking-Quinn. Ms. Lacking-Quinn, if you would go off mute and ask your question at this time.
So I heard the principal ask a question and it said that the scope was modified. So my question is, who modifies the scope regarding the project, and is the principal notified when the scopes are removed or changed?
Mr. Alfred, I believe that might fall under you for the question. The question was, who modifies when the scopes have to be modified? Is the principal notified, and how is that the question, Ms. Quinn?
Yes, it's who modifies the scope, and is the principal notified when the scopes are removed or changed?
Okay, thank you for that question.
Yeah, short answer should be yes. Our procedure, we go through a scope to budget validation process where we give the architects a budget and they go and survey and they put a cost next to it, and we validate that, to see if they're on budget, in budget. That's what kind of Mr. Broughton was bringing up with the scope. After we do look at it and see we have all the scope captured and we have an estimate from the architect of that cost, we give the principal a form called the principal acknowledgement form, where it shows each piece of scope that we'll be doing. Right now, we're kind of in the beginning process. So if he hasn't seen that yet, he will be delivered that scope But if there's additional scope, like say from this meeting, that we add into it, or like say we find there's a need, they will, like say, go through that same process, and that's what he would be signing off on. So yes, he's notified and signs off that we have at least delivered him the scope we are receiving. We are performing.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Alfred. If you do have a question, please feel free to raise your hand using the raise hand feature. We can make sure we get those answered. And if you're on joining us on Facebook, on social media, please feel free to ask, make any comments or questions, and we will get those answered as well. But we did have a number of people joining us a little late. So, Mr. Browne, if your team wouldn't mind doing the presentation one more time to make sure everyone understands what the scope of the project is.
Sure, Brandon, if we go back to the first slide.
And I do see, I am monitoring the chat for those questions. We'll get to those as soon as we go through the presentation again. Thank you.
All right, let's go ahead and jump to the next one. And so joining with me this afternoon, of course, is I just want to introduce our team really quickly. Darren James is our president of KAI. I'll be serving as your principal in charge of the project. James Lawrence is our senior project manager. Brandon is our project architect, and Mariah is our architectural associate. And this is the core team. We have a much larger team working on the project, but this is our core team. We can go forward. And so the scope of the project, and this is what was basically sold in the original bond package, was at TW Browne, was to provide a secure vestibule at the school, a new marquee sign, new room and site graphics, which includes just basic room signage and site graphics throughout the building and on the site. Replacement of the educational casework, and that encompasses really the teachers' cabinets and millwork within the rooms. Replacement of the acoustical ceiling tiles in the ceilings. Replacement of carpet and VCT. Teaching surfaces at the classrooms, so removing all chalkboards and old marker boards and replacing those with new. Exterior and interior painting were needed. Renovation of the corridor walls. We got some outdated finishes throughout those corridors there. We need to address the front entry canopy. We want to provide some form of shelter for students as they're waiting after school or before school in front of the campus. Waterproofing replacement on the exterior to make sure the building's watertight. Exterior wall repairs. Window replacement with new energy efficient windows. Replacement of the concrete sidewalks and pavement as needed. That's not a complete replacement. That's where as needed throughout the campus. Addressing the air conditioning in our technology rooms, where we have the main data closets that provide the Wi-Fi and internet for the building. We want to basically address the air conditioning at the gym and locker rooms. Complete HVAC replacement and ductwork through the building, including the grills and diffusers. The fire alarm system needs to be addressed. Exterior and interior lighting controls, and then also addressing the LED fixtures or the lighting fixtures on the exterior of the building and the interior of the building with new LED fixtures. Plumbing improvements as required to make sure the water flows, sanitary flows through the building as required, and then security updates, including cameras, card readers, to make sure or to provide the security requirements for the building. When we look at how we're going to approach this work, is that we look at it based upon a sort of a light approach, a medium, and a heavy approach to renovations. So primarily, when you look at the first floor of TW Browne, we're consisting primarily of light scope, which means that we're primarily focused upon flooring replacement, replacement of the teaching surfaces or the marker boards, and then painting. So we're going to basically refresh those classrooms, refresh those corridors, give it a fresh look with new finishes. We also have within the first floor a major renovation, which includes the security vestibule and reconfiguration of the front administrative space to basically accomplish the correct flow for visitors when the building is basically in a secure position throughout the day. And then on the second and third floors, we have, again, mostly light renovations with just refinishing the finishes in those areas with new flooring, new ceilings, new teacher services in the classrooms there. And then on the second and third floors, we have, again, mostly light renovations with just refinishing the finishes in those areas with new flooring, new ceilings, new teacher services in the classrooms there. And then on the second and third floors, we have, again, mostly light renovations with just refinishing the finishes in those areas with new flooring, new ceilings, new teacher services in the classrooms there. And then we also looked at a couple of additional scope items that were in the initial scope, but we are looking to add to the project if the budget allows. That includes enhancing the security vestibule with security film on the windows and glazings. It just gives an additional level of threat protection in those particular areas. We want to update the finishes at the functional life skills portion of the building. We want to remove those portables, and then we want to address the public address system and replace that throughout the building as well. And this is our schedule. We're looking to basically go through the design phases, which encompasses schematic design through construction documents, beginning in June of this year and going through February of next year. So once we get to February, we're basically saying that the documents are ready to be put out to bid for contractors. So that starts basically the bidding and negotiation phase and the construction phase. So there's a separate schedule that's not shown here that describes basically the construction administration and bidding phases. So this is just to represent what's going to take us to get us from design through getting a set of documents that the bidders can bid.
See, unlike the human, the rat drags his testes as he walks. This creates a urine trail.
Now I'll turn it back over to you, Ms. Bell. I think you're muted.
Okay, great. Please make sure all of our everyone that's on the call, please make sure you're on mute. You're getting some feedback. We have a number of questions in our chat right now. Let's begin with Miss Dean is asking Tammy Dean, if you would like to go off, you can ask your question. We can hear you.
Am I on mute?
No, we can hear you now.
Oh, okay. Actually, I was asking about the restrooms, if there would be any upgrades, but when he just went back through the presentation, I saw that plumbing was included. And the reason why I asked, because throughout the school year, we've had several times the doors will have out of order more than any of the other previous campuses that I worked at. So I was just hoping that that was addressed.
Fantastic. And I see Miss Quinn, you had a Miss Danita, you had a follow-up question about the sewer at
Tammy
Browne?
Tammy and I were on the same page. You answered it. We just need the sewer at Browne dramatically addressed.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Angela Dominguez, you had a question as well, or a statement?
I just think that the kids need more of a social, we want the kids to be more social with each other. The courtyard is one of the places do hang out, and it just needs a lot of modern updates. The courtyard, the blacktop, these kids since COVID have just pretty much been to themselves. And so if we want these kids to get back into a social life, we need a place for them to be social.
Okay, great.
Also, I am a parent for both schools, and my children play sports. And so we do go out on the softball field, the baseball field. And as a parent, I do have to provide my own seating to sit out there to watch my children play sports. And so those fields out there need bleachers so that the parents can participate in these events to watch their kids play these sports.
Thank you for your comments. Right now we have I think I'm looking for the other questions. Dora, can we make sure that we put the PowerPoint presentation back up? Because right now we're having a blank screen showing. Thank you. Mr. Hughes is responding. T.W. Browne, Mr. Hughes, if you want to go ahead and make your comments. And then followed by Ms. Campbell.
There we go. I'm sorry. I just wanted to appreciate my staff for being on. So staff members, thank you so much. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Ms. Campbell, and this is my first year at T.W. Browne Middle School. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. And being an 8th grade teacher, we've had a lot of programs, getting them ready for high school throughout the year, being an athletic coach, just participating in athletic banquets and programs, and even with the 8th grade, end of the 8th grade year ceremonies, being a first year teacher, just trying to have a lot of programs in the auditorium, just piggybacking off of what was said in the chat previously. it's really overwhelming when you try to seat an audience and you have to skip over the broken chairs, and then you try to explain the graffiti and even the broken concrete that I think is like ADA things to help with our wheelchair people who are coming in to view the programs. So I was just looking at my coworkers as they were posting in the chat, and I just wanted to add, because I heard that the auditorium was not included into the upgrades, and it was really kind of heartbreaking to hear that, because being a first year teacher there and seeing that the auditorium is kind of one of the things that needed to be upgraded the most, just from my vantage point, I just wanted to add to what was already being said. Thank you.
Fantastic. This is a wonderful time. You can see that the our fantastic architecture team has put up their whiteboard, so they are capturing. We want to make sure that everyone understands the fact that we're not just talking, we're actually we're here to hear you and to respond. So you can see we have our whiteboard here that was hidden, but it takes all the comments and considerations that have been said in this meeting, so they'll be taking those back, capturing those, and working with our team, and of course with our budgets to try to address the needs that we have for the community. Are there any other questions? Anyone else would like to make a question or a comment? Okay, seeing none, we're going, we know we have another meeting starting in exactly 24 minutes to address Kimball. Chief Alfred, do you want to go ahead and proceed with that now or take a break?
So on mute. We're not anticipating additional attendees. I'd say we move forward, but I would defer to the principal to give us a feel for his community and or the trustee.
Trustee Foreman?
Well,
yes,
the
Ms. Smith?
trustee will let me say, I was just asking that question. The schedule was actually supposed to be, it was advertised to be Kimball at 5:30. So I think anyone that was wanting to see Kimball would already be on. So I think we should move forward. So I appreciate it.